This is a message from your guides reading for Radical Shift. I have 4 crystals here. So I have my clear quartz, and I have my rose quartz. So this one is a heart chakra stone. It has to do with healing, pretty much all of the different kind of positive emotions, healing, comfort, joy, love. It has a lot to do with relationships as well. It can be any kind of relationship, really, and harmony between yourself and other people, and also even the relationship you have with yourself. Then this one, this has to do with, for me, usually clearing, purification, and then also calling on higher energies and higher entities. But it's kind of all purpose, so different things can come up with that stone. And then I have my citrine here. So this is a solar plexus stone, and this, so it has like a lot of fire energies with it, a lot of charged energies, and it can kind of help to manifest things. It can help to speed things up if certain things are slowed down at the moment. It also helps with personal power, so empowerment, getting things done. Okay, kind of knowing yourself as well, and personal identity kind of issues, kind of things with that. Okay, so then my last one here is my peacock ore, and you can see all of the different color variations in this stone. So this typically is associated with all of the different chakras versus just a specific one, and it really has to do just anything with chakras, clearing them, maintaining them, whatever it is, obviously focusing on specific ones. It doesn't have to be all of them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and surround us in some protective space with my clear quartz here. I just realized I'm using all bigger stones. I usually have some smaller ones here too with me. I will mention too that the number 4, because these obviously are the ones that I intuitively drew. So also I have 4 here. So 4 tends to be about stability, harmony, bringing things together. And it tends to have to do with building something or creating something like a foundation. When you think about a square, the 4 sides of a square, it's almost like the foundation of a building in a sense. So 4s have to do with that. So there's definitely some heavier energies around you this time as I'm putting the protective space around you versus the last reading. And part of this is just feeling like as we go through life, we can kind of collect things. And as we, in a sense, get older, we can collect things and have more baggage. But then it feels like it can almost, the baggage can almost be triggered by something. And so it was there all along and it was there the whole time, but then you just feel it more so all of a sudden. But it doesn't mean that you didn't have it there before. And in this case, it just feels like whatever this is, it feels like it was just triggered by something. This is feeling more emotional than anything else. It also feels like having to do almost with projecting different things onto the future. And there's a feeling almost like of family, even it could be children, family though, related to some of this idea. And there is something coming up here with children though. So this is either related to children that you don't have yet and you're concerned about not having them, or this is children that you already have and you're concerned about those ties. But there is a feeling here like sometimes when you take certain moves forward, it does cause an ending to certain things. Obviously, there are some relationships that can't be ended, like relationships like children and things like that. That would be pretty rare to end that no matter where you end up. Other relationships, though, it can cause an ending to those relationships. And you have to kind of think about what's really best or what's most important and how do you actually serve one another. And how do you actually complete one another? Or how much do you actually complete one another? Because it is really a kind of, there is like a fragility to the relationship if it can be ended so easily. If time or space could bring an end to it or a close to it. But sometimes you have to let go and not be attached to a person depending on what the circumstance is. Okay, so I'm going to look at these questions again really quickly. Okay, but there is this feeling about this year being about yourself. That's what it feels like. You moving forward on your own. And there is this sense of independence regardless of any relationships. This doesn't mean relationships or no relationships. This just means you're focusing on yourself regardless of them, and you're moving forward in the way that you feel to. It does feel like this place that you're thinking of moving to, it definitely feels like there are opportunities there for you. It feels like there could definitely be good opportunities there for you. It feels like there are. So it definitely feels like good things would happen if you moved there. That doesn't mean that nothing good could happen though staying here as well. And I don't feel there's it doesn't feel like your path is necessarily related to staying in this place or going there. So in other words, it feels like your path could be completed either way, whether you were here or you were over there. And so for that reason, I don't really feel like your guides are going to come through with like a definite yes or no. Should you be doing this? Should you not be doing this? I also don't feel like they would want to do that, because they're even reminding me in the last reading, they talked about how you were getting better at connecting with them, how you used to have a lot of difficulty and resistance, not just difficulty hearing them and listening to them, but also there was like a resistance to their kind of polls and suggestions. So now it's feeling like you're a lot clearer in that way. Now, it still does feel like there is some resistance, but a lot of that actually has to do with doubt, where you doubt yourself. You doubt whether you're hearing from them or not. Whereas before, it used to be more this kind of bullish kind of energy, like you're charging forward, or the same energy, but staying stuck and not charging forward when you really should be. Just this feeling like you're just kind of resisting pretty much everything that they're sending to you, and they're trying to get through to you, and you're not really hearing it so much. And this feels like, especially when you were younger, as you've gotten older, it feels like you're kind of almost kind of rebellious kind of nature or side, at least when it came to listening to specific things from your guides, because that's almost how they're taking it or putting it. Almost like a rebellious kind of feeling that they're sending. They're saying that that kind of toned down a bit. You got more still, more within yourself, like they talked about in the last reading as well. So there was this major shift that occurred. It still feels like it's occurring. So they're not saying that there's no resistance there anymore. And it also, it doesn't only come from doubt, but they're saying now that more of this has shifted, they're saying most of it does. So now the higher majority of it has to do with that. Not so much that you don't want to hear certain things, but that you'd be willing to hear it, but that you're more afraid of being wrong. And you're afraid of the outcome or the kind of backlash if you were to kind of receive like a false intuition. So your guides are glad that you're listening to them more, and you are definitely better at that. But that's also a reason why they kind of want you to analyze this situation in a kind of detached way and really think about things in a clear way. Where you're going, where you're headed, what you feel like could happen for you if you moved out there, what you feel like wouldn't happen for you if you stayed here, and what your intuition is telling you if you are detached. So if I'm anxious, and I'm worried, and I'm feeling stressed, then how am I feeling about this? Then do I feel to go out there? Do I feel to stay here? What do I feel? If I'm looking at it totally detached, how do I feel about this person or think about this person? What do I feel like this will do or not do? And again, if this is fragile, then what does that really tell me about the relationship? But in order to analyze in this way, you have to be very detached. So you have to be still and think more logically. And it feels like that's how your intuition is going to come through. Whatever you end up deciding, that's more how your intuition is going to get through. That's the state that's going to serve you the most right now. And it'll serve you the least to be crying a lot or really emotional or giving into kind of heavier emotions and energies. Now, obviously, if you need to cry or if you're feeling something really negative, then you can release that. But for the most part, it feels like this is actually baggage that is unrelated to this at all, this situation. And it feels like you're taking that and putting it in the present, almost like when an empath is feeling somebody else's stuff, and then they take that and they start thinking about present things that are going on. And they weren't in that emotion at all, and maybe now they're projecting something that isn't really there, that they wouldn't have been projecting. So it's kind of the same idea, only it is your own stuff, but just not regarding this in any way. Even though maybe it seems like it should be, maybe it seems like there is something to worry about or there is something to be attached to in a charged emotional way. And that's another thing that the citrine has to do with and solar plexus has to do with. It also has to do with emotional charges and releasing those. And when this is working really positively, it can be like heightened, charged emotions in like a positive way that heighten you, that charge your other chakras, and that more kind of get your juices flowing, like excitement, passion, love, happiness, and all these kind of expanding charged emotions versus a charge that more hinders you. But in this case, the thing about this is it doesn't feel so much like you're releasing something. It feels more like holding on to something, and that feels more like it's holding you back. So in this case, it doesn't feel like if you're getting emotional about things that you are actually necessarily healing from something or releasing something. It feels more like you're giving into energies that, again, aren't really related to this situation. And so you're kind of identifying with them. And that's the reason why it would be harder for them to release, just for the reason that they're about some other past stuff. Some of it could even be past life related, but some of it does feel like it's related to this lifetime. So different things that happened to you before, and they're triggered by this, and then you project things out of it. But maybe not everything about all of this in your situation serves you anyway. But also it could. Again, they're not really giving some definite answer. because they want you to analyze it in a detached way, like they were saying, and they want you to feel them and hear them and connect with them and also with your own intuition. And they definitely feel like you are better about that, you're better at that, and you're much more capable of that than you would think. But again, it's just a matter of getting into a still place where you're not in your own way. And try and do something that helps you to stay in a more positive vibration. And if you do need to release a heavier emotion, think about how you can actually release it instead of tying it to the present situation. It might come out that way for now, but again, it's not really coming out as in releasing. So it's best if you feel almost like you can't help it to try and think about, where is that actually coming from? Is there something in this lifetime that you could actually tie that to? Tie pain to, like emotional pain to. There's probably multiple things that you could tie it to, or multiple points in your life that you could tie it to, or even people, it feels like. So your guides are suggesting that you think about what you could tie that to in a more accurate way. If you feel like if you feel like you need to vent or cry or release some of this energy, but then once that occurs, if it needs to, and when it needs to, or in other words, whenever it needs to, if it's more than once, then they're saying that's fine, but they're also saying, so they don't want you to like get stuck or hold on to something, because obviously that can be negative too. But then at the same time, they want you to try and find something that helps you to feel more peaceful, helps you get your mind off of things, be in a more positive state, and a happier feeling, a higher vibration. But then that's also going to help you reach a more detached state when you are thinking about present things, where you're not going to put so many past emotions and project those emotions onto the current situation, and then you can see it more clearly. Okay, so that is all that your guides have to say for this reading. So thank you so much for allowing me to do another one for you. I truly hope, as always, that it benefits you. Namaste.